Hello, and welcome to Postcards from a Soul and Her Human. I'm the human, Gina. It's been a few weeks since I recorded, and I've been enjoying the summer, so I have a good excuse. It's really beautiful here, so being outdoors is a really important part of my wellness routine. And I forsake everything else for it, so that's my excuse. um, I've been thinking a lot about a particular subject lately, and I think I want to talk about that today. And that is faith. And faith can mean different things to different people. Absolutely. And I've always been very aware of that throughout my life, that people are protective of their faith or whatever they perceive to be their faith. And I know a lot of people automatically think of religion when they think of faith. And I just want to say right up front that this has nothing to do with organized religion. I have a lot of opinions about organized religion, but overall, I believe that our faith is really based in ourselves, in faith in ourselves as a human being and as a divine being. I think a trap that a lot of people fall into and is only identifying with their human being and the world. And if you've heard any of my work before, you know how I feel about the fact that we're dual beings. We are a body and we are a light being or a divine being or a soul. And that when we focus only on the human being, our faith is very limited. It's limited in an object to believe in and a set of rules to follow. And it really disconnects us from the us or the part of faith that has to do with our belief in ourselves. And I think it's difficult to believe in yourself as just a human being. And I don't want to minimize the fact that we're only humans. I just mean that only the human part of us. And when we do that, we only can relate to the things that make sense in the human world or in the gravity based, top of the planet, human body world and mind. And, going through this journey I've been on for the last year or so is really just shown me something completely different, that faith is really based within ourselves because we are part of everything. So if you look at your life as being connected to the universe, your idea of faith completely changes. And it's all about perspective. I mean, perspective is the key to happiness. Perspective is the key to living a human life and seeing things from a high enough distance to know that you are not trapped in your circumstances or in your brain or in your relationships or your jobs. And it really allows you, that view from outer space of what your life really is. And it doesn't limit you to what's in front of you or what you believe or what you've been taught or what your experiences have instilled in you. Perspective allows you to see the greater purpose in things. And I don't mean purpose like, why am I here? Why is the sky blue? Although that's all part of it. I mean the purpose of our lives here as human beings and the fact that we are not just human beings. Because if we only see ourselves as that, we are limiting ourselves to what we can have faith in. And as a human being, I have faith in my brain power, in my heart, in my mobility, in my work, in my relationships, and the superficial parts of my life. And I know that it doesn't sound like superficial parts, but if you look at it on a grand scale and include your divine parts, which is really the engine that runs this human vehicle, then your whole perspective changes. And the things that we do as humans become consequential only to the wider scope of things. So what I mean by that is that it's almost like um, like operating a piece of equipment without a manual. Like you can figure out the topical things to do. Here's the on off button. Here's the I can see how it goes forward and goes backwards, but I don't really understand all of the features. And if I don't take the time to open the manual and really look at what's, you know, a part of this incredible machine that we ride drive around in, we don't understand not only what we're capable of, but how to work most efficiently, how to live with efficiency and um, with the least amount of wear and tear on the parts and the least amount of friction and the ability to live a life from a place of understanding not only what we're capable of as light beings in a human body, but what we're a part of. When you look at things from 300,000 feet, you see way beyond the body. You see how we are connected to everything, how this planet and the universe are one thing. We're all made out of the same material. And it's only a difference in the vibrational quality that makes us appear different. So, when I'm looking at a dragonfly, I'm the same as a dragonfly. And I may look different, but we're made of the same material cosmically and physically. It's the same as the earth and every planet and star. And I think when I came to understand that, it really helped me to understand and see how it's not just me wandering around bumping into things as a human body in a human environment, but I'm a being inside of this body who is connected to everything. So it's like, pushing around my vehicle because I didn't look at the manual and know that I could start it and drive it. It's a fuel that is endless. It is an infinite fuel, which is the energy of the universe, which runs through me, which allows me to conceptualize and even understand the grand scope of things as, in this human form. And I think that when you're able to get that perspective, you are able to reprioritize everything. What I used to find most important were my primary relationships and how they were going, and am I being accepted? Am I being um nurtured? Am I being cared for? Am I doing the same thing for those people in my life? Am I a part of a family that's balanced? And if it's not, what am I doing wrong? And in my particular situation with an overabundance of empathy and compassion, I tend to fall into the categories of giving too much and becoming, I get taken advantage of or have in the past. And I always thought if I just gave more that things would become balanced and I would, I'm a good person, I'm giving, so why wouldn't I have a good experience? And it just isn't the way that it works. Unless you have wisdom, giving is draining. So, we have to learn. Somebody like me has to learn about that, how to give with wisdom and how to, make sure that I'm fortified before I give. And, those things are all really important and they are part of the human experience. And the reason why we have these relationships is to teach us what we need to learn while we're here. And, um, so we all have our like unique set of issues to deal with, or perceived shortcomings, or overabundance of, whether it be empathy or selfishness or whatever it is that we're dealing with. And we all have to deal with those things from a place of what we understand, wherever that is in our lives, in our journey. And throughout this last year, I've learned that I am a spiritual being too. And I've always kind of known this, but I didn't have access to what it really meant until I went through what's considered to be my awakening, or um, my awakening to my spiritual self. And in that awakening, you get awakened to your divine, the divine parts of your divinity and the universe. And in my case, I've been fortunate enough to connect with um, my family in the soul realm. These are souls that are with me always and have been for every lifetime that I've experienced here. And they're referred to as my soul family, my soul tribe. And they've been teaching me a lot about this as I'm going through this transition, or this transmutation, which is probably a better way to put it. And by transmutation, I mean going from a place where I was limited by my understanding of what I was, thinking I'm just a human, and all of the pain and anguish that I've experienced throughout my life that becomes embedded in the body and that we have to release. Um, I didn't understand until going through this, that darkness, or it's called shadow inside of you, or shadow work, however you want to refer to it. When you go through your shadow work, it means that you are transmuting your pain and anguish into light and love. And you basically learn how to embrace the darkness in you and how to turn it into a tool um, instead of something that injures you. And we're all meant to go through this darkness or this shadow work. And if we don't, we're only able to perceive ourselves as the human. And as a human, we store all of our pain and we avoid and ignore it. And as we go through our lives, we become encumbered by it, inhibited, and then at one point or another completely disabled by it. And we're disabled in many ways. It's not just emotionally, meaning we don't seek out loving relationships because we don't believe in them. Mentally, we lash out and um, self sabotage, and then physically we become ill. We deal with dis-ease or disease or injury or maladies in our bodies that are caused from our beliefs and our reality, because we create our own reality by what we believe. And I think until you realize that, you don't understand the power you have. And so we become beaten down by life, and we don't understand that we have a choice, because we didn't look at the manual. We only know front and back, on and off. We don't understand all the finite features of this incredible vehicle that we're in, and the energy that's driving it. So because we don't understand all the features and benefits of being a human, we go through life in reverse, basically, because we don't want to go forward anymore. We eventually just stop and break down. And we say to ourselves, well, that's all my body is able to do. I'm sick, or I have emotional issues, or I don't trust, so I'm done. And we see this everywhere, people young and old. And uh, when we understand the duality of our existence, and the fact that the honestly, the major part of us, or really the only real part of us, is our divine part, our life force, the energetic part of us that is connected to everything else in the world, every creature, every piece of this earth, every planet and star, the sun and the air, the water. Of course, we feel alone and we feel beaten down. So when we go through trauma, we are scarred by it, and that scar inhibits our ability to be responsive to life. And responsive is responsibility. And responsibility is choosing whether we're going to be beaten down or not. And once we choose we're not, we find the manual and we open it up and then we start to be illuminated. And in that illumination, we start to see everything. And faith is what I'm discovering, and it's so incredible, is I've never had an affinity for organized religion, and I've always actually honestly had a fear of it. I didn't want my daughter to attend school in the church, which was a tradition, or not a big one, but something that was an option in my marriage to my first husband, was to send her to a school that was run by the church. And a lot of people do this, and I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just telling you my experience is that when I went into this school to check it out with my ex-husband, my first husband, the father of my only child, I was physically uncomfortable. And when my daughter was she didn't end up going to that school. She ended up going to public school. But when she would go, with that side of her family, my husband's side of her family, to church and church events, and I would go see her in the choir or whatever she was doing, I would be physically uncomfortable in church. I've always been physically uncomfortable in church. And I've never really understood why. Now I do. And I'm not going to say anything negative about organized religion because that's not what I'm here to do. All I can say is that when we are organized by um how do I put this without being negative? Maybe I'm not going to be able to do this. Uh when we don't follow our hearts, when we don't trust ourselves, when we don't understand how powerful we are, that we are actually powerful creators in our own rights, we abdicate that power to somebody else who appears more powerful. So I'll leave it at that. I think that's probably conservative enough way to put that. So in my search for faith, I really always came up empty until I realized what I am, and that I am a physical body with an an energetic being inside. And I wish I can find another way to put that, but I really am struggling with that. My life force. I used to think of myself as a human with a soul, and now I absolutely know that it's the other way around. I'm a soul with a human. So when I look at things that way, I see this incredible universe, and I can put into perspective my human existence. So in that perspective, I now know that my humanity is based on a very limited set of rules, movement, mobility, senses, relationships with others who have their limited capacity to understand what they are. So I have this kind of like training ground or school that I'm attending as a soul. And the reason that I'm here is to learn my lessons. And that's why we choose to come here, to learn. We are these evolved beings who want this human experience so we can keep evolving. And we choose our experiences before we come here. And this is not something I'm guessing. This is something that my soul tribe, my soul family informs me of, that I have certain lessons that I came here to learn. Mine in particular are to learn not to be a victim, which was my first really big one. And the reason I had the karmic relationship with my last husband was to learn that I am not a victim in this life, that I actually am a very powerful being who chose that experience to get to this point where I can now share this perspective. And my other lessons are self love and to believe in the universe, or faith. And honestly, the faith is that the universe is a part of us and that the universe supports us, and that we really can't screw that up. And that what we're doing when we feel like a failure, or feel like we made mistakes, or we feel like we've been taken advantage of, or we've been hurt by something or someone, when we feel the lowest is when we're in the depths of the learning. So when we go through the learning and we don't recognize it as learning, it gets embedded as pain and anguish, and that's what slows us down and then crash and burns us. So if you look at it from that perspective, then every lesson is an opportunity. And yeah, we've heard this before. Lessons are opportunity. Of course, everybody's heard that before, but what does it really mean? It's incredible. I mean, when we invite lessons, we are inviting our evolution. And when we don't fear our pain, it informs us. It releases, it frees us. So when we are aware of our duality and we are aware from a high perspective of what we are and what we're capable of, we can drop the needs. I guess the word need, quote unquote, we can drop need. Need becomes uh, an antiquated idea, and our human bodies are just wired to need. We need others to make us feel better. We need situations and money and pleasure and uh, wealth, supremacy. I can go on and on with the things that we perceive that we need in order to feel better. But anybody who's experienced actually getting what they need, which is disguised as what I want, can tell you that it doesn't change how you feel about yourself. If you get the perfect relationship, you destroy it. If you get wealth, you sabotage it and you lose it. That's just how it works. If you don't have the foundational faith, not only can you not sustain these things, but it's likely they won't come to you at all. So you struggle your whole life with wanting what you can never have because you're not worthy, because you feel like you're not worthy. You don't get it. So I think I said in my last episode that the universe awards abundance with abundance. And that doesn't mean that if you have money, you get more money. It means that if you feel abundant within, if you feel connected to the earth and to the universe and to your life force outside of your body, you become naturally abundant because you're not hung up on your need. And the need creates demons, and the demons want what they want and they don't stop till they get it. So if you've heard any of my work before, whether my podcasts or my articles, you know that need is the antithesis of abundance. When we need something, we chase it. And when we chase it, it eludes us. I mean, think of a bubble on the breeze. Somebody blows a bubble and you want to own it. You want to possess it. You chase it. And the force of air that you create by chasing it pushes it farther away. It's exactly the same thing. When you need something, it eludes you. When you can get to a place in your life where need is no longer a driving force, whether you realize it or not, and most of us don't realize it. When you get to that place, your faith is like automatic. It becomes a default part of your system, because sitting where I am now, and I do have access to my spirit team, so, and they inform me of a lot of these things. So basically the reason why they're here and the reason why they've led me to this microphone is so I don't waste years contemplating how I know this. I know this because my spirit team told me. And now I can experience it without having to go through years of figuring it out. They told me that I'm a part of everything, that the universe supports me, that not only do I have these 4 spirit team members in the disembodied other realm, and I've been introduced to them personally, but I have an entire universe of light beings who have lived many lives. Some have not ever lived a human life. They've lived lives in other realms or planets, or they are archangels, which I never had any understanding of before this. Angels and ancestors and people of other worlds, souls of other worlds that we might refer to as aliens that are in the spirit realm that are supporting me. They are here for specific reasons to help me do specific things. And we all have these otherworldly beings in our orbit. We're all supported not only by the universe as a whole, like conceptually or on a broad scale, but we specifically have otherworldly souls who are supporting us, who are helping us with epiphanies and decisions, and if we only allow them. And we allow them by clearing the debris caused by living a life disconnected to our creator power, our greater power, our divinity. So, because I have this understanding and this connection with my divine self, my life force, the energetic part of me that runs the body. So when my body dies, when it's time for me to leave this earthly realm, I'll lay down and die and my energetic self will go on. So that's what I'm referring to when I say my energetic self or my soul. I go on forever. I'm identifying as this human body named Gina in this earthly realm with gravity that allows me to stay on the ground and not float off into the universe. I'm Gina, the human body, while I'm on this journey. And the reason why I have this incredible perspective of my ex-husband and the life I spent with him, and why I can love him as a a kindred soul, is because I see the grand scope of why we had that relationship, which is perspective. And because I have that perspective, I understand why I went through those lessons. The lessons that if I did not understand my divinity, I would be completely incapacitated by. I was with a man for 25 years who pretended to be somebody who wasn't, and who left me because he wasn't having enough sex. Okay, that's not normal, right? I mean, in the human world, to have human relationships, we do all kinds of crazy things to each other to learn. We cheat on each other, we injure each other, we kill each other. I mean, we're here to do these things to learn lessons. And if I were to only see the human part of that experience, I would not be able to love again. First and foremost, I would be a shut-in, completely not trusting that the human world to not only not only take care of me, but to not injure me. But I can look at this man in absolute love because I understand why he was in my life. That he was playing a role that was preordained, preconceived, predetermined. I came here to learn that karmic lesson, to erase that karma from my bloodline. So, because I was given this access, which came through my awakening, which we can't avoid, my friends, we can't. Because of this awakening or this shadow work that I went through over the last year, I was given access to this incredible, miraculous world of divinity. And one of my lessons is faith. It's faith in the universe. So I've learned kind of the remedial lessons, the lessons that most of us humans have to go through, which is relationships and how we comport ourselves and how we respond to our lives. And I'll repeat that: respond is responsibility. When we take responsibility and accountability for our own experience, we erase ourselves as a victim. we get rid of that part. That's a basic one. Other basic ones are basically who how we relate to others. And yeah, I went through that. I've had those karmic lessons. They are on the books. They are erased from my bloodline. So what that means is those who come after me don't have to deal with that now because I did. So when you go through your awakening, you do it not just for yourselves, you do it for your ancestors. Time is not linear in the cosmos. So I'm erasing karma from my future and my past. Or I should say from my past and my future, because the future is still yet to come, but the past is gone, but it's not. It's not linear. Time does not exist in this cosmic realm. So I'm erasing this injury from my past and my future. How about that? So I'm not doing I did it for me, but I didn't understand until later what the impact was. So I am creating a bloodline that is going to be free of these parasitic issues. And now that I've kind of graduated from this elementary school of lessons, I'm going into college now. And now I'm being taught faith. And trust me, there's still lessons. I'll give you some examples. I'm being informed and have been informed for the last almost 10 months now that I have a soulmate coming and that I'm being prepared for this soulmate. And this soulmate is a man from another country. Um, and he is going through his own awakening right now. He is going through his own shadow work right now and preparing to meet me in the future. And I don't know when it's going to be. And part of my learning has been learning about him and wanting to meet him. So in wanting to meet him, I want to try to control how it happens. And I don't know I'm doing it. But when I hear a message that tells me that it might be longer than I think, I'm like, I get upset and I'm like, oh, Jesus, I'm ready. What the hell? And I have to laugh at myself because as self-aware as I've become, I still am plagued by my ego. Um, and the ego is amazing and we don't understand how pervasive it is. So I can tell you from this new vista, this incredibly self-aware place that I've arrived to, that it's still and always will be something I have to keep a close eye on. So I'm doing things kind of subconsciously to create the environment for this soulmate to come into my life, and it doesn't work. So I'm being reminded by my spirit team to sit down and wait. That part of your lesson is to learn to have faith, and it's amazing how we don't know how untrusting we are. And when we're trapped in just the body and our faith in church and religion, oh my goodness. It's just incredibly limiting. And what I'm learning is that faith in the universe is just letting go and trusting that I have all that I need and I always will. And I'm talking about these gravitational elements, the elements of the earthly life. I will have health, I will have peace, I will have money. I'm doing my soul's work. I have a vocation. And what I've learned is that when we let go of the need to control what we think we know we want, which is disguised as want, which is actually need, we are so incredibly limited to what's possible. So in my limited capacity as a human, I need a relationship. Uh yeah, we need relationships to define us, to make us feel better, to validate us. So we seek out from this incredibly painful place people who are here to teach us lessons. And even in this pain and anguish, we have to accept the lesson. I mean, because of the pain and anguish. So when you're feeling insecure and you are in need, you take what comes to you and you don't ask questions because your lesson's there. And then when you get the lesson, you don't shrink from it. You stand up and say, "Okay, my friend, what are we doing here?" It's so fucking easy, but we don't it's the hardest thing in the world because we expect it to be hard. Because we make it hard. Because life can't be easy, can it? Life can be effortless if we choose it. So this is what I mean when I say we are creators. We are gods in our own right, and we were made to do this. We were made to understand all of our working parts and features, and if we don't open the manual by going through our awakening, we have no idea. And we live a life completely in need. And we just are brought lesson after lesson after lesson after lesson. And until we start to recognize the lesson and then the blessing at the other end of the lesson, we repeat over and over and over the same behavior, the same relationships, the same outcomes. So, what's the definition of insanity? We do the same things over and over and over and expect a different outcome. That's why we're all insane. We're all insane. It's funny. It's funny because it's so not funny. Ah, but we don't understand that we have the power not only to heal ourselves, but to create a life of absolute effortless wealth and abundance. So I have the soulmate coming, and I have a best friend who are part of my soul team. They are part of my soul family. They are the two that are in the 3D or in the earthly plane with me right now. But they're not ready for me, or I'm not ready for them, or both. And even though I feel ready, I have to learn to have faith because I'm standing at the threshold of the most miraculous time in this human life, a time where I will experience true love for the first time with a man who is awake and loves himself, or at least is on his way there, because we're going to learn and heal together. That's part of the plan. I will have a best friend who is a mirror of me, who I'll be able to talk to about all of my spiritual quests. Who is part of my soul tribe. We are connected infinitely from an origin that is beyond this lifetime. I will live in another country, which is my dream place, in a dream home. My vocation will create wealth for me. I don't know how yet, but it's coming. So I've been tasked with or challenged by my spirit team to just have faith and know that what I'm led to do naturally will bring me there, and that I can do nothing to screw it up. So I've been given this information firsthand, well, maybe secondhand because it comes through messages. So I can get on this microphone and talk about it to you so you don't have to spend the rest of your life figuring it out. Because we're coming to a time with the earth and the universe where all of us are going to be elevated. We're all going to be elevated out of this three-dimensional heavy, energetic place. And in order for that to happen, we all have to have an awareness of this to some degree. So if you were led to this podcast or to my body of work on my blog, you are seeking this for yourself. or any other spiritual information that helps elevate you. So if you're listening to this podcast, you are being elevated. And you can help that elevation by recognizing it and assisting in it. So, just by the sound of my voice and the words that I'm saying, you are being activated because that's why I'm here to help activate you. And then you start to do this inner work, and then you activate others, and so on and so on. And this is how the blanket of light appears across the world. And this blanket of light is the means by which this energy gets through to us into our heavy 3D bodies. How do I know this? Because I'm being told and I'm experiencing it. And my life is completely different now. I'm going through changes not only emotionally and spiritually, my body's going through physical changes. I have headaches and I hear buzzing and I am dizzy and I am unsteady and anxious at times, even when I'm at my most calm self, because this energetic upgrade is happening to all of us. Some of us, it's more pronounced because of our awareness of it. Some of us fight it and end up at doctor after doctor and not understand what's wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. If you are feeling this energetic change and you are hearing spiritual verbiage in your everyday life, and that you're being drawn to this podcast or other things like it, you are becoming aware of this elevation because it's time for you to do that. So do some research on elevation to the 5D. Do some research on um, spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening, spirit team, spirit guides, archangels. I didn't know anything about any of this before this year. I had no idea. So when I talk about the church and faith in a God that is perceived in a certain human way, this is not that. Um, this is faith in the universe, in the origin of life itself, in the light beings of pure love that are all around us. And when we choose to connect with that part of ourselves, which is the only real part of ourselves, and recognize that we are this divine being, we gain access to it. So I'm being challenged to have faith in the universe, not in any earthly God or earthly concept of God. And I don't want to rock your world and tell you there's no God. I want to rock your world and tell you that the universe is God. And that you don't have to limit yourself by what you feel but what you learn. But you can expand yourself infinitely by letting go of what you think you know and by connecting to your energetic body. And to do that, you allow pain in your life. You go look for it in your body and you deal with it. You process it. And I've talked about this in a couple of my podcasts. You process the pain. You allow it to come up into your body and be recognized, and then you let it out by your emotional response to it. Responsibility. You respond to your pain and you allow it to dissipate and leave you, and then you free the space for your spiritual self to be who you are. Because right now your divinity, your life force is buried underneath the boulders of pain in your body. So you become weighed down and you stop completely and you lay down and die, basically. You don't have to die. You don't have to give up. You are in control, and you have a team of spiritually you have a team of souls who want to assist you. They just need you to recognize that they're there. So when you pray to God to take away your pain, instead, ask your spirit team to help you, and they will help you awaken to it. But you have to go through it. You have to go through it because it is your birthright. It's like going through the birth canal when you're born. It sets the stage for you to accept challenge in your life as your way to learn. And pain is a part of that. So when you go through the birth canal and you come into this world completely illuminated as this light being, you lose your illumination when you start to experience life, and that's on purpose. We forget what we are in order to experience the human life. If we knew what we were from the beginning, or we remained in knowing that we are this light being, we would never do any of the things we do. We wouldn't engage. We would just wait to die so we could go back home. So we forget that we're these illuminated light beings. We come into this world to have these human relationships. So we're dulled energetically in order to have this experience. But then we get to a certain point where if we don't remember, we just become destroyed by it. And sometimes in some lives, we're not meant to remember. And you may not be inclined to remember, and you may not ever be exposed to this information like in this podcast or in other ways because you're not ready or not meant to. That's fine. But if you're listening to this podcast, you are inclined to awaken. If you're inclined to awaken, I recommend it. We're exposed to what we're meant to be exposed to. There's no mistakes. So the people running around this world in pain and anguish who are blaming everyone else, which is manifested in intolerance and racism and in hate of anyone who isn't exactly like us, we are still in the throes of our learning. And some of us aren't meant to awaken in this lifetime. And that's okay. And we have to accept that. We have to tolerate others because they're all in their different stages of learning. So that's what tolerance is. It is accepting others exactly as they are, warts and all, and loving them in spite of it, or actually because of it. We limit our exposure. We don't want to get run over by the stampede, but we can still love the stampede and understand it. So that's what tolerance is, and that tolerance is love. And love is the fuel. So until we get to this place within ourselves that we see the duality of our existence here and we appreciate and embrace that, embrace the fact that we are here to learn. We're in school, my friend. And if we do the work and graduate, we get many rewards. We get true love. We get self-acceptance, true love. And in that true love of ourselves, the universe rewards us. The universe rewards abundance with abundance. That's what it means. So I'm standing on the threshold of this new life where I'm going to be living a fantasy. And I was a little nervous to talk about this on mic because I wasn't sure how I felt about it. But if I'm to have faith, that's what faith is. It is believing in something you don't yet know for sure. It is believing in the universe as just an extended part of me, and that I'm a part of this energetic blanket of life. And I'm not just talking about the earth and, if you're gonna be freaked out, be freaked out. I'm talking about the universe and all the other galaxies and the other planets and the other life forms that are out there. We're not the only ones here. Jesus criminy. Really? In this incredible universe, this size of this fucking place, we're the only ones? That's your ego, my friend, needing to control what it knows so it can feel comfortable. No. You can think I'm nuts, go ahead, it doesn't matter. We are a part of a spectrum of life, and we're a very, very small part of it, my friend. Get comfortable with that and know that that expands you, it doesn't limit you. Look at the access that we have if we were open to this. Look at the galactic neighbors we could have if we weren't fearful of it. My God, it just the possibilities are endless. The technology that we don't know that other life forms have. Okay, I'll get back on track because I don't wanna lose my audience here, but I just wanna make a point of the scope that's possible, and if we limit ourselves to just what we think we know as a human being, we are severely, severely inhibited. We don't use our features and benefits. We are only using 10% of our brain because it's rooted in the earthly plane. All the gifts that we are capable of, we're all psychic, but only some of us are overtly psychic. So those are the ones who can tell us things that the otherworldly beings want us to know. The mediums and the tarot readers and the gifted witches. Witch is not a bad word. It is a person who is connected to the earth and the universe. They've just been villainized by the church, by oh god, don't get started. Okay. You know what I mean. So, my faith is in the universe and it's being tested right now. I'm talking about this incredible future that I have, not knowing it's not here yet. But I have faith that I will not only meet this soulmate, this man who I'm going to share the rest of my life with, who's from another country, but I will move to that other country and live in my dream home and I will do this work on a grander and wider scale. And I will become financially abundant doing it. And I'm being asked to just have faith and to let go of my need to control that. And you know what? That's what I'm learning right now. We are always learning. We're students. We are gods learning to be gods, evolving ourselves. And I don't mean to take away from your ideal of God, whatever that is, and it's yours. Embrace it. But mine is expanded. The word exponential doesn't even fit. Is there a word for exponential? Exponential. My faith is in the universe, the origin of life, which is so far beyond a God. It's expansive on crack. It is just, I mean, you can hear the energy in my voice. This is not just something that I contemplate. This is what I know. So if you're ready to expand yourself beyond the pain in your body and your ego's need, then do that. Engage. Seek out a resource. Find your way. Ask your spirit team to help you. They're here. They cannot wait to help you. The whole universe supports you. So, yeah, I have faith. And this faith has allowed me to let go of the need to control, the need, and the keyword is need. When you need, you are in your human ego. When you let go, You are becoming elevated. That's how you know. So, let me leave you with this incredible concept to contemplate. Is first of all, you're not alone. You are part of a tribe of souls and an infinite universe full of light beings who love you and want to help you. All you have to do is engage. We are all on a quest. We're pirates in an open sea. What will we discover? Will we give up at the first port where we don't find another person, or do we go and create a civilization? You see what I'm saying? We are light beings and we are energized by love. We are motivated by divine love. And when we love ourselves, we create a world, a life of love. We attract love when we love ourselves. So maybe you're not going to get a soulmate this time around, but you will find a relationship. You will attract that relationship of that other being who loves themselves. You will attract abundance in whatever way you want it. That's how we manifest. But you can't manifest from a messy room. You got to clean it up. And then you manifest fairy tales. So I have to wait patiently for my soulmate, even though I feel like I'm ready. My soul team says I'm not. And I trust that I'm not. And he's getting ready too. So when that happens, I'll let you know. But just hear me when I tell you the pain in your body, the anguish, the feeling of being a victim are all of the mind's and the ego's ways of keeping you grounded, not in a good way. They keep you from flying, from soaring. So do what feels right to do, but don't limit yourself to what you think you know. There's a whole nother universe out there to teach you, and I'll do my best to share what I've learned, if that helps. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again.